The woman was just kind-hearted. She sponsored a poor student from the countryside. Little did she know, this would mark the beginning of her tragedy. The poor student lied, claiming she had no money to rent a house. With a shameless face, she came to stay at the woman's villa. Upon meeting the woman's husband for the first time, the poor student couldn't help but be dazzled by him. The woman intended to let her stay for a few more days, but after one night, the poor student left a note and disappeared without a word. The woman thought the poor student had gone back to her hometown. But 10 months later, at the woman's charity gala award ceremony, the poor student burst into the venue holding a child. In front of the reporters, she tearfully accused, saying that 10 months ago, the woman's husband had taken advantage of her and caused her to get pregnant, and this so-called philanthropist had been using charity as an excuse to find targets for her husband. The room erupted in shock. Faced with the reporters' questions, the husband desperately tried to explain that he was innocent, but unexpectedly, the police presented a paternity test, proving that the child the poor student was carrying was indeed the husband's. Now, with both witness and evidence, the furious crowd quickly overwhelmed them, and before the couple could explain, they were beaten to death. Before she died, the woman asked the poor student why she had framed her, but the poor student revealed a shocking secret. The reason the poor student was pregnant was that 10 months ago, she had stolen a plastic bag used by the husband, and through an operation, had conceived the child. Once the woman and her husband were dead, she would take the illegitimate child and seize all their property. The woman closed her eyes in regret and unwillingness. When she opened them again, she had somehow been reborn to 10 months earlier. At that moment, the doorbell rang. The woman suddenly remembered. Today was the day the poor student had come to stay at the house. To make her pay for what she did, the woman calmly invited her into the villa, wanting to expose the poor student's true colors as soon as possible. The woman intentionally arranged her room next to her husband's. Faced with her husband's puzzled expression, the woman claimed the other rooms were too dark and damp, and before her husband could object, she let the poor student stay upstairs. The next morning, the husband was preparing to take their daughter and the poor student to school, but the woman lied, saying there were no classes today, intentionally giving the poor student and her husband a chance to be alone. The poor student was thrilled when she heard this, and even ran to the husband, coquettishly, but the woman paid no attention, because she trusted her husband's character. They had been married for 10 years, and she believed her husband would never betray her. Once the husband and the poor student left, the woman immediately called the property management, and had surveillance cameras installed all around the villa. But as the workers were finishing up and preparing to leave, the woman suddenly stopped them, and made a strange request. The worker felt awkward, but seeing the money the woman handed him, he gladly agreed. That evening, the husband took the poor student to a mall, where they picked out a necklace worth 200,000. The poor student was ecstatic when she saw it, and even stood on her toes in excitement. The husband, seeing this, pushed her away with a look of disdain, because it was the woman's birthday. He had brought the poor student to try on the necklace for her. The poor student realized she had misunderstood, and could only swallow her anger and apologize. Looking at the affectionate man, the poor student gritted her teeth in hatred, vowing to take everything the woman had.